Another month and another Market Watch video where we're talking about rock cards? No, not those rock cards. I'm talking about The Rock. And no, we're not talking about Prism. We've got something different for The Rock today. We've got a big time sale of a major indie legend, a card that people crap on all the time due to the image, yet the rarity of it and the price that it sold for tells the true tale of the card. And a card that I personally love, that I sold? Why? We talk about all of that and more in today's video. Welcome to the Wrestling Card Market Watch for July 2023. What's up, wrestling fans, trading card collectors? Welcome to another episode of Wrestling with Cards. If you're new to the channel, each month I do one of these videos where I look back at some interesting cards and sales from the previous month, and then I like to look at those and extract some talking points and some perspectives that maybe a lot of people aren't thinking about. Really going into the weeds of some of these cards. So let's get started. Let's get fired up.
Somebody say something.
The headline sale of the month, 2002 Scorpion King The Rock autographs. For the longest time, we might see one or two of these cards available at any given moment, and it was typically set at an astronomical price. But last month, not one, but two of these cards sold. I don't know, maybe it has something to do with that big fake Rock auto controversy that's floating around hobby social media. And the people that had these, they just wanted to dump and they were afraid theirs were fake. Okay, totally kidding on that one. If you're unfamiliar, I'm not going to talk about it a lot on here, but if you search around after this video on YouTube for the fake Rock auto controversy that happened recently, you can find all the information you need on that. And both of these sold for maybe a little bit more than what that 98 Comic Images Rock auto that everybody loves usually sells for. So then maybe people kind of question the price on these. No, they're not fake prices. I think they would question, why does the Scorpion King sell for more than the Comic Images? Most people that know the Rock autographs are a little bit harder to find know that the Comic Images Rock auto is kind of the go-to, and some people even look at that card as like a rookie auto, even though the autograph wasn't actually pack pulled. And once again, I think if you're comparing the Scorpion King card that sold compared to the Rock auto, again, it comes down to the rarity and scarcity of the item. Any day of the week, you can go out and you can buy one of these Comic Images Rock autos. Sure, it may not be the autograph quality you want. Maybe it's a little bit more streaky or doesn't stick to the card as well. Maybe it's not in the grade you want. Maybe it's not in the slab you want. Maybe you want it graded, but all you can find is raw, or vice versa. And while it doesn't make that Comic Images Rock auto card any less of an iconic card, they are definitely available if you want one. But on top of that, you have to keep in mind, when it comes to The Rock, there are a lot of non-sport collectors out there chasing Rock autos. And to my knowledge, I think he only has like maybe 2 or 3. And maybe those people actually associate The Rock more with the Scorpion King or more with Doom or anything else that he's signed in that I can't think of right now. Basically recognizing him more as pop culture than as wrestling. And they prefer to pay more for that pop culture representation of The Rock over the wrestling. Do I think the Rock auto market is tanking because we're starting to see more of these available? No way, not at all. The only way that I truly think a Rock auto market could come crashing down is if he signed some kind of deal with Panini or Fanatics or whoever's going to Leaf, I don't know, whoever's going to be trying to sign him to an autograph deal, and they just mass produce the things. Now, of course, I could be wrong, but if you have a bunch of that stuff coming out, I could see maybe the prices of his autographs and the general interest coming down. But in my opinion, any authenticated Rock auto is a great card to have in anyone's collection, no matter what type of card it is. Or if it's a cut signature that's slabbed out of a book, or whatever it is. Again, if it's authenticated by one of the major grading companies and it's a Rock auto, probably good to go in your collection. The totally awesome sale of the month, 2000 BBM Nick Gage PSA 9 with a 10 auto. $1,499, however, a best offer of $1,000 was accepted. Everything is awesome about this card. Let's start with the card itself. Even if you're looking at just the base cards that don't have the auto on them, because it's an aftermarket auto, autos of Nick Gage weren't inserted into the packs. While it's not impossible to find, it might be a little bit harder than you would expect. And that seems to be the case with a lot of like current indie stars or bigger stars or legends that were featured in some of these older BBM sets. It's a great early image of Nick Gage here, and I love the signature on this card. The color choice, the paint really pops on that, and you gotta love the placement of it. Getting the 9 grade with the 10 grade on the auto from PSA, that's excellent. But what might be the most exciting part of this card sale is the fact that indie stars continue to have their cards rising in value and have more popularity and demand from the collectors. And I've talked about this before, but I'm going to have to bring it up again with the sale of this card and tell you exactly what I'm talking about. There are cards out there that do exist, that people actually want to collect, that aren't mainstream hobby headline stars, that aren't just branded Panini, Topps, or Upper Deck. And no, I'm not talking about Wrestling All-Stars or older stuff like that. What I'm saying is there are fans out there of specific talent that maybe they are featured in indie card sets or releases. Or maybe they're like this BBM, they're in these official card sets, or maybe it's a Leaf product that may be, again, official, but just a little bit lesser known or not as valuable or popular to the mainstream market. Or maybe they're included in one of those random one-off releases that we've seen a lot of indie stars put out recently. All of these items, they are no longer being looked at as kind of gimmick table money, gimmick table items for the wrestlers themselves. Collectors are starting to pay more and more money for these things. Now, I know there's a segment of people out there that absolutely hate indie cards and hate these secondary releases. They only want the official, big time, big draw, pack pullable, shiny stuff, all that stuff. Of course, then you have the investment experts out there that will say, don't invest in these unofficial cards. They may be fake. They're not graded by PSA, so they're not real cards to me. Don't prospect in these cards. You know, whatever it is. They're just not interested in this segment of wrestling cards. But I think the proof is in the pudding, so to speak, with this Nick Gage sale. But I think it also proves that people are willing to go out there and dig around and look for the older first appearances or early appearances, rookie cards, whatever you want to call it, of some of these stars who maybe they're on the top of their game in the indies right now, or hey, maybe they're in AEW or they're in WWE, NXT. People are enjoying going back and finding these older things that are a little bit more rare maybe. And when they do find them, they're willing to pay more money for them than they were before. I have nothing but good things to say about this card sale overall and what it means to indie cards and that secondary release market. Surprising sale of the month, WWE Chronicles National Treasures, Andre the Giant, 1 of 1 Platinum, $761.01 with $4.99 shipping. I remember when this card was released, the image came out and all the cool guys came out of the woodwork. Oh, this image sucks. This isn't a good representation of Andre's legacy. This card's a detriment to National Treasures and what that represents. Sure, I see everyone's point there, but what happened to cards just being fun? In fact, if we're just talking Andre cards, I always like to go back and reference the 1991 Merlin cards that he's in, where it's an amazing image and what I often like to refer to him in that card as Miami Mob Boss Andre. It's just fun. It's different. We've seen black singlet Andre from the 80s and early 90s over and over and over again. We've seen 70s Andre plenty of times. And of course, we've seen all the parallels that everybody likes to buy of all the Andre cards. But when we get these really off-the-wall images of stars, I really dig it. Again, because it's just fun. And maybe that's on me. Maybe I'm having too much fun with the wrestling card hobby or the other non-wrestling cards that I like to collect or see or talk about. Too much fun. Calm it down, Zhan. Maybe I should stick to the rules more. I need to be more serious. I need to bow down to the regulations of the hobby gatekeepers. But okay, for the sake of argument, let's say I agree that this image sucks, just hypothetically. It still wouldn't stop the card from having its day. Over $700 for a 1 of 1 card that supposedly everyone hates? Pretty impressive if I do say so myself. Also, if you remember recently, I did the iconic wrestling card statistics video, which was part of the most iconic wrestling cards of all time series. Go check out that playlist in the archives of this channel. But in that statistics video, when I broke down these cards, I realized just because a card is rare doesn't mean it's valuable. Just because a card is valuable doesn't really necessarily mean that it's rare. Now, sometimes those do have crossover, but you just can't say that same blanket statement for every single card that's out there. And you can use that and pick a side of the argument if you want with this Andre card. But a National Treasures branded 1 of 1 Andre card with a goofy looking image sounds like a heck of a lot of fun to me. And apparently some other people did as well, with it selling over $700. Questionable sale of the month, 1991 Chromie WCW Stunning Steve Austin PSA 8, $1,000 with a best offer of $700. So this card was sold by me. And you may have heard me talk about this card before. It's one of my favorite Steve Austin cards that exists. And that being said, you may be asking, well, Zhan, this is one of your favorite Steve Austin cards. Why would you sell it? And why would you sell it for such a low amount? Have you seen what other people have theirs priced at? Sure, okay, so let's break down the mental process of why I sold this card. So first off, let's talk about the price. As I stated, there's some people out there that probably thought this sold for too little of an amount. Again, especially compared to the grade that it's in and compared to what others have theirs listed at in those specific grades. And they may also say that I sold this at a too low of a price based on the potential future value of this card. Essentially looking at this card like an investment piece. And kind of my response to that is it's all about margins. When I'm selling a card, whether it's something I bought just to flip for inventory in my eBay store, or whether it's a PC item that I'm just not that interested in anymore, I'm not looking to squeeze every single penny out of the sale. I'm strictly looking at the margins. If I can sell a card for a decent amount that's offered for more than what I have into the card, that's a win to me, no matter if it's a 20% increase or 120% increase. Doesn't matter. Now let's move on to why I got rid of the card in the first place. It made the 25 most iconic wrestling cards of all time list. It's one of my favorite Austin cards. Why sell? Well, let's start with I do have another copy, ladies and gentlemen. In fact, it's another copy in the same exact grade. And I think I've talked about this before, but I'll say it again. Besides the Karrion Kross Super Collection, any collecting pieces that I have, I never keep duplicates. Reason being, I'd rather move that, take that money, put it into the Karrion Kross collection, put it into the Wrestling All-Star signed collection. You know, something else that there's something I need in those collections that I don't already have. Not to mention, by getting rid of that duplicate card, I'm allowing that card to go into the hands of another collector that does want that card. Also, did you notice this card is in one of those hideous, oversized holders from PSA? PSA, why do you continue doing this? I understand oversized holders for oversized items, but we're talking a card that's the same size essentially as an All-Stars card? I don't know. But my other duplicate copy that I did keep is currently at PSA being reholdered, specifically stated to be in those standard holders. Fingers crossed they listened to my instructions that I wrote down on my submission. So what do you think about this Steve Austin card or anything else that I've talked about in today's video? Let me know in the comments. Do you have these cards? What do you think about my thoughts and opinions? Do you have thoughts and opinions on anything we've talked about today? Leave a comment down below. Let's get a discussion going. You can also reach out to me on social media, and if you need help with that, the links to all my social platforms are in the show notes below. And while you're checking out the show notes, there's a lot of other ways you can help show your support for my content, links to my eBay store, Patreon, and much more. And until next time, click the videos on the screen for more great wrestling card content in the archives of this channel, and I'll see you there.